Bridget in Greenwich, Connecticut. You're next on the EIB network. Hello.
Hi, Rush. How are you?
Fine. Thank you very much.
Hey, I'm calling because I just wanted to make a comment about the hypocrisy regarding Donna Imus versus David Letterman. And Donna Imus several years ago was excoriated for the comments that he made about the women's basketball team at Rutgers. And yet, and Les Moonves didn't hesitate to fire Donna Imus. And yet David Letterman is getting a free pass for essentially calling Sarah Palin slutty and then showing the arrogance to go on and continue to make jokes about her family. And it just shows it wouldn't be happening if Sarah Palin was a liberal instead of a conservative.
Well, there's also a big difference between Imus and Letterman, and that is Imus fell over backwards apologizing. He went down to Rutgers, and he met with those basketball players, and he heard from them how his comments hurt. He spent 2 hours with the Reverend Sharpton on the Reverend Sharpton's radio show, and still the same company that has an agreement with David Letterman, CBS, threw Imus away, threw him under the bus, even though he had apologized. And there's another big difference. Let me make one other difference. Letterman's comments about Sarah Palin and her daughter were planned. They were written in advance by writers. They were put on cue cards or whatever it is that Letterman uses during his opening monologue. A teleprompter, I don't know. Imus, there's nothing written down on a radio show. Well, there might be some hosts that are incompetent that have to have things written for them, but Imus is not one of those. Imus, he was just reacting to a comment one of his cohorts made, stream of consciousness and so forth, apologized for it when all the excrement hit the fan. Letterman is not only not apologizing, he's making it worse. But you're right. We got NBC defending what Letterman had said. One of the ways that he's being defended. Hey, look, Palin put her kids out there. I mean, if Palin's going to put her kids out there, I mean, they're fair game. Well, whatever happened to the notion that family is off limits? And in fact, Obama even said so during the campaign last year. Leave the family alone. And they do. They left Chelsea Clinton alone. They leave Obama's daughters alone. Can you imagine if anybody made a joke about Obama's daughters? What would happen here? This is, in fact, I think I have somewhere in my stack here the quote, and maybe it's a soundbite of Obama saying something back then about leaving the families alone. I guess it's not in the soundbite. I saw it somewhere. I've got it somewhere. Cut 4. Well, it's Palin saying it true, but I know I've got the exact quote somewhere here of Obama saying it too. Somebody went back and found his quote from the campaign. Anyway, let's play soundbite 4. This is Sarah Palin today with Matt Lauer on the Today Show. And Lauer finally says, look, Letterman tried to explain this. Does he owe you an apology?
Remember in the campaign, Barack Obama said, family's off limits. You don't talk about my family. And the candidate who must be obeyed, everybody adhered to that, and they did leave his family alone. They haven't done that on the other side of the ticket, and it has continued to this day. So that's a political double standard. He doesn't have to apologize to me. I would like to see him apologize to young women across the country for contributing to that kind of that thread that is throughout our culture that makes it sound like it's okay to talk about young girls in that way, where it's kind of okay, accepted, and funny to talk about statutory rape. It's not cool. It's not funny.
The left really doesn't find much wrong with this. The Palins put their kids out there. I mean, they're fair game. The Obamas put their kids out there all the time. They're on shopping sprees in Paris. They had vegetable garden shots. I remember during the campaign, Obama was in Kansas City during the Democrat convention, one of the first days, and he was doing some town meeting, and at the convention that night, they put Obama on the camera from the home of some resident in Kansas City. His kids were there, and they got the Chiron graphic wrong. The Chiron graphic said Obama in St. Louis, but one of his daughters thought he was in Kansas City, so the daughter, very cute, said, Daddy, where are you? The kids are out there. It's just she's right, there's a double standard. But it's more than a double standard. there is a viciousness about Sarah Palin, or towards Sarah Palin, that, and just as there is a viciousness toward Miss California, Carrie Prejean. You cannot throw out of the mix. I'm sorry, folks. I know some of you are not going to like me saying this, but they're both attractive. They're both well-spoken, and they stand up for what they believe. And it's the exact opposite of the dominant, perverted, liberal culture of the day, and so it has to be slapped down. It has to be destroyed. And if you can do it by making a joke about Sarah Palin's daughter and so forth, go ahead and do it. I mean, the left, when you view yourselves as godlike, and you view your enemy, i.e. Republicans and conservatives, as the epitome of evil, then you tell yourself, well, anything's okay to get rid of evil. Had no boundaries in getting rid of evil. Letterman has just sunk to a shadow of himself. I mean, he used to be genuinely creative and funny back in his NBC days, but he's now just degenerated into an angry old man filled with cynicism, not humor. It's a sad thing to see, actually, because he was so good at one point and apolitical, but he's like everybody on the left. They've just become enraged about things, even after their side wins. They're just... Look, I got to take a break. I'm way long here. The next segment's going to be short. You have been warned. We'll be back. What are you laughing? Here we have that soundbite that I remember Obama. This is September 1st of 2008. He was in Monroe, Michigan, and he held a press conference. Jake Tapper of ABC News said Governor Palin and her husband issued a statement today saying their 17-year-old daughter, Bristol, who is unmarried, is 5 months pregnant. Do you have any reaction?
I have said before, and I will repeat again, I think people's families are off limits, and people's children are especially off limits. This shouldn't be part of our politics. It has no relevance to Governor Palin's performance as a governor or her potential performance as a vice president. And so I would strongly urge people to back off these kinds of stories. You know, my mother had me when she was 18. And, you know, how family deals with issues and you know, teenage children, that shouldn't be the topic of our politics.
See, so he makes a statement, but his acolytes don't follow him on this. But he now occupies the lofty position of, we're going to leave it alone, we're not going to talk about it. Then, as everybody continued to beat up on Palin and her kids, he stood silent. He remained silent. He could have stopped this. I don't want to win this way. This is not how, could have stopped it, being the highbrow and high-minded guy that he supposedly is.